Let's bring in one of the Harris-Walz campaign co-chairs, Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. It is good to see you. I guess we know who you're voting for. We see your shirt. But let me ask you about Arizona, because when they start voting, it's going to be only the second swing state, along with Pennsylvania, where votes are being cast. The second gentleman's in Arizona tonight, the vice president on Friday. I know you've been there recently. So I have to ask what the ground game looks like. Are you ready for voting to get underway?
I am beyond ready for voting to get underway. But listen, I want the people of Arizona, as well as every other single swing state, to know that we are fighting and working to earn your votes. That's why, yes, the governor is coming. That is why the second gentleman will be there. That is why the vice president is going to be there. And that is why I have been there a countless number of times, is because we want people to know that we are not afraid of hard work. And the one thing that I want people to remember is that a lot of people say, hey, vote for me. But the question is, what is it that they did or did not do to actually get you to vote? And think about how they will govern. Will they be somebody that will show up for you when it comes time to govern if they didn't even show up for you when it came time to actually earn your vote? So we are the team that shows up. And I'm hoping that people see that. And I'm hoping that they show up to the polls for us.
So tell me how you're showing up. Tell me what the ground game looks like. Tell me how many offices.
Yeah.
Tell me the doors knocked, the phone calls made, the text messages sent. How intense is it in Arizona right now?
Yeah, so we've got countless numbers of volunteers that are consistently signing up. As you just mentioned, I just left Arizona only a couple of days ago, where there were hundreds of people that came together, and we were getting people newly registered to kind of support the team and to show up and get on doors. I launched, I don't know how many Canvas launches while I was there, and there were hundreds of people that were showing up to do the Canvas launches. And this is everywhere. This isn't just Arizona. So we have more offices in every single battleground than Donald Trump. I think we just opened another office, so I don't want to tell you the number that we have in Arizona, but I will tell you that it's well over 18 offices that we have spread throughout the state of Arizona. So we actually have more boots on the ground than the Republicans in every single battleground state. That's from volunteers, that's actually paid canvassers. We've got more paid staff overall. And what we are trying to do right now, besides making sure that our base is consolidated, we're trying to make sure that we're absolutely getting to those people who have really just been too busy living, right? Like the people that are making sure that they can keep a roof over their head and food on the table. We got to make sure that we're getting to them. And so that's why we're actually taking the fight to them. I've appeared at some concerts. I just saw where we had somebody registering people to vote outside of a concert. We want to make sure that we're not leaving any stone unturned. We are going to the people, as well as we've got so many people that are coming to us. And yes, the amazing text messages that everybody loves to get, those text messages are going out along with the emails. And there's been a lot of talk about kind of what does media look like. And so while there's traditional media that's taking place, as we know, the vice president just sat down with 60 Minutes, we know that there's the untraditional things that are being done, a ton of podcasts that are absolutely reaching people that typically don't pay attention to politics. That's what we're trying to do. We are trying to make sure that we reach everyone, not just the politicos, because overall, it does matter who is in government as we're looking at yet another hurricane that's coming through. And obviously, we're still dealing with Hurricane Helene. Even if you don't pay attention to politics, let me tell you something that my sorority sister always says, you may not do politics, but politics will do you. And so that's why we want to make sure that everyone has equal access to the ballot box and knows who it is that's fighting to earn their support.
As you well know, the campaign isn't just competing against Donald Trump, but also misinformation. And I want to play what the Maricopa County Republican Party Vice Chair Shelby Bush told 60 Minutes, this aired last night, when asked to provide evidence of her false claims of election fraud.
I don't need a government official with a vested interest in disproving information to tell me whether what I have is valid.
It's valid because you say it is.
I say it's valid because I say it is. And if somebody looks at it, they can determine whether it's valid.
So I wonder how you fight that. Or do you simply accept the fact you are never going to win the votes of deniers, of potentially conspiracy theorists, and you move on?
No, I don't accept that. I don't believe that that is what American exceptionalism looks like. I think that one of the things that I've done as I've traveled the country is I've talked about the power that we have as the people. And the fact is, most people honestly don't want to listen to politicians. They believe that we're either liars or that we are criminals. And well, we know that the top of the ticket for the Republicans is absolutely both. That has been proven over and over and over. And so what I've told people is that when you see disinformation, when you hear disinformation, when you hear just straight up lies, that it's incumbent upon you to correct that, especially in your own circle. And so I've also encouraged people to look to find out what are sources that you can rely upon, because we've got all of these kind of Russian websites, as well as these Chinese websites that are randomly popping up. And they're putting out this information that is designed just to confuse and interfere with our elections, which is why I absolutely have to say kudos to AG Merrick Garland for going after this and not waiting until after the election to go after these bad actors. Now, obviously, we can't stop every bad actor, because if we could, well, Donald Trump, his mouth would be shut, along with J.D. Vance, who admittedly said that he will lie if it gets him attention from the media. And so the question is, what type of America do we want? Do we want an America where we're okay with people being in the most powerful seats that exist, and they sit there and they lie to us and we say that that is perfectly fine? Or do we want the America that we have always seen as the beacon of hope around the world, that absolutely says that we not only will tell the truth, but we will push to make sure that we are pushing this country forward instead of taking us back? And right now, we have a lot of people that really just don't want to deal with facts, because the reality is that the Republican ticket doesn't have anything to offer the American people beyond Project 2025. And we know that Project 2025 doesn't resonate with anybody who has the time to listen to any portion of it.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, thank you for taking the time. Appreciate it.